Benvenuti, salve a tutti, sono JR e oggi siamo qui con un altro video di Xceleste di BTS Universe Story Summary. Questo video non l'ho mai visto, quindi questa sarà la mia reale prima reazione di questo video, quindi una novità anche per me. Vediamo subito cosa ci aspetta.
Welcome back to my channel and to another video. This time I'll be summarizing the BTS Universe story game. This summary goes over the prologue up to the nightmare epilogue. Since I'm trying to keep this video short, it's not as detailed, so I always suggest you guys to just try the game out yourself if ever. But to answer one question, yes, this game goes with the current storyline that connects to their music videos, albums, webtoon, the notes book, and the upcoming drama called Youth. Prologue gives you a quick summary about where things are right now since the game takes place in one time setting with multiple time.
Torniamo un attimo indietro. Youth Prologue. E ce lo dobbiamo scrivere questo Youth Prologue, che lo dobbiamo andare a cercare. È un dramma? Dramma. Non saranno loro gli attori, però sarà riferimento forse a loro?
That connects to their music videos, albums, webtoon, the notes book, and the upcoming drama called Youth. Prologue gives you a quick summary about where things are right now since the game takes place in one time setting with multiple time travels back. This game takes place after the Save Me webtoon, when Seokjin returned to South Korea after being in America for 2 years. Seokjin has already realized he's been in a time loop and needs to save the boys but continuously fails. So throughout the game, we learn more about each character to find the root of the problem. Starting with Namjoon's character. The customer would get his gas filled, then drop the cash on the ground for Namjoon to pick up. This would cause a fight, and Namjoon would end up in jail. Seokjin had already given it multiple attempts, but nothing has been effective. Seokjin decided to check out the employee break room at the gas station that Namjoon spent a lot of time at. He found Namjoon's journal with entries of his daily life. He found out that Namjoon would work a lot of part-time jobs in order to pay for his ill father's hospital bills. There was also a list of books Namjoon wanted to purchase, but had to hold off on because of his budget. So
Io questa parte l'ho vista nel gioco, in Universe World, ma la storia approfondita
Namjoon accidentally knocked a stack of books, and instead of Namjoon picking up the cash first, he picked up the books first. That's when Seokjin realized money has always been a constant source of frustration and misery for Namjoon. That's why he couldn't stomach kneeling down to pick up the money and being insulted over it. Seokjin decided to call Palgo County Hospital and paid off Namjoon's father's hospital bills. He put the payer name under Sungho Foundation. As for the customer that infuriated Namjoon, he let the same dialogue unfold, but this time, he steps in between the customer and Namjoon and tells the customer off. By doing this, he was able to stop Namjoon from going to jail. A month later, Seokjin followed Namjoon to a bookstore after he got off work. The employees at the bookstore treated him poorly and even accused him of stealing a book because of how he looked. They were about to call the police until Seokjin stepped in, and the alarm was revealed to have malfunctioned. Namjoon came home and received a phone call from his mother.
Cioè, proprio una sfiga totale. Cioè, so che questa è una storia finta, ma sfiga proprio totale. Tetro.
Saying the hospital bill was paid off.
Come quando succedono le cose, ma piove sempre sul bagnato.
And the name of the depositor was the Sungho Foundation. He searched up the foundation and found a recent group photo of the launch ceremony. And in the photo was Seokjin. Namjoon thought Seokjin had been pitying him and he refused Seokjin's financial help and he wanted to give the money back. Because of this, Namjoon ended up picking up more hours at his part-time job. On his way to work, he ended up getting hit by a car. And that was it for Namjoon's chapter. Jungkook's character night after night would get caught up in fights with thugs on the street, but he would actually be the one
Jungkookie.
who'd instigate these fights. He'd allow himself to get beat up, then later on jump off the roof of a construction site. Seokjin decided to find out why Jungkook would wander the streets. He picked him up from school and dropped him off at home. Seokjin listened in as Jungkook rang his house doorbell. His mother answered over the intercom and told him to come back later since his father, who's actually his stepfather, had relatives over. Seokjin invited Jungkook over to his house but forgot he had an inauguration ceremony for the Sangho Foundation, where he'd be introduced formally by his father. In one timeline, Seokjin had attended the inauguration and left Jungkook at his place. Jungkook looked through the old pictures that were in Seokjin's room and thought of the time they spent at the beach. Jungkook has always liked walking on the edge of walls or on top of lines. He would do that until someone grabs him, which is usually Yoongi. The others would look after him too, and he liked their helping hands. That made him realize that their hands were why he'd walk on the edge. If Jungkook wasn't jumping off the roof of the construction site in other timelines, he would actually end up getting hit by a vehicle. Seokjin had tried different ways to save him. This time, he didn't attend the inauguration and brought Jungkook to see the cherry blossoms. Through this, he found out that Jungkook thought it was his fault that Yoongi got expelled during high school.
No. 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 Io ho giocato un po' questo gioco, ma non avevo approfondito nel dettaglio la storyline. E oh my god, no. Ah.
Seokjin realized Jungkook needed someone to lean on, but it wasn't him. So who could save Jungkook? Next story is Yoongi's. Seokjin has been trying to figure out which motel Yoongi would go into to set himself on fire. If it wasn't a motel, it was Yoongi's workroom. No matter what Seokjin did, he couldn't stop Yoongi from starting a fire, and he realized the problem might be coming from within Yoongi. Seokjin decided to look through old footage and pictures for clues. he noticed that Yoongi wasn't usually in videos or pictures.
Questo riflette un po' la depressione di cui Jung parlava. Ovviamente non c'entra niente con la storyline, però dentro a Suga lui ha sempre ribadito del fatto che ha avuto la depressione, l'ansia sociale, e quindi questo può far riflettere che una sua storia alternativa lui la crea in questa maniera, ma il fatto che Jungkook si sia buttato nell'acqua e sia negato, anche se è una storia fittizia, oh, è pesante.
Yoongi was playing the piano, then stopped when he noticed Jungkook behind him, then asked him to play. Now, Yoongi didn't ask Jungkook to play just because, but it was out of respect. When he wasn't looking at the camera in the photos, that was actually because he was watching all of them. The next day, he tried to go to the previous motel Yoongi was in, but this time the location had changed once again. It was actually the motel that was next door. Now, if it wasn't Seokjin who could save him, but someone else, who could it be? Jimin's character has been in the hospital
Anche se è una storyline, è una fiction, è pesante da
for
digerire.
2 years after
Pensando
his
che sono
seizure
i
at the bus
ragazzi.
stop with Hosok, and he hasn't seen the boys since then. Seokjin attended the Songho Foundation gathering on April 22, year 22, and he saw Jimin's mother. Seokjin tried to get more information about Jimin but realized she was trying to lie about Jimin's situation. Rumors have already been going around about her committing her son to a mental hospital. We also found out what Jimin's father does. His name is Park Jin-wook. He's one of the foundation's board members who entered as a researcher. Later on, Seokjin confronts Jimin's mother and tells her he knew where Jimin was actually at. The mother later on visited the hospital and assumed Jimin had contacted Seokjin. "How long do I have to suffer because of you?" Jimin's mother said. Jimin didn't want to make things any more difficult for her than they already were, so that same night, Jimin ended up taking his life. If Jimin wasn't
My God! My God! Meno male che è tutta una finzione, my God!
saved while he's in the surgical ward, he would end up making the same choice days after he returns to the closed ward. Seokjin had already tried multiple times to persuade Jimin to leave with him, but not once did he succeed. Jimin believes that he actually belongs in the hospital. Seokjin decided to follow Jimin for clues. He finds a student's workbook that Jimin hid away, and inside was a career plan worksheet that was actually filled out by Jimin himself, even though he didn't own the workbook. Under extracurricular activities, join the dance club Hosok started was written. So it's clear that Jimin wanted to leave, but he was just too scared. Seokjin tried to remember moments back in high school, and there was this time where Taehyung pushed him forward to dance, and Hosok believed Jimin could do it.
Mi sento, uff, C'ho qua pesante. E devo dire che intanto è interessantissimo come hanno creato tutta questa cosa della fanfiction, delle storyline, del videogioco, ma e forse sono i pensieri più oscuri chiusi dentro una persona, li hanno messi in questa scatola che è questa fanfiction e li hanno messi lì, da come se fosse una storia parallela a questo mondo, no? Però solo pensiero che i ragazzi possano aver sofferto una cosa del genere, oh my God, non so spiegarlo, mi piange il cuore proprio.
This time around, Seokjin took Taehyung to the hospital in order to persuade Jimin to leave, but in the end, Jimin still hesitated and was caught in the hallway by his mother. May 19, year 22, Jimin takes his own life once again. Note, for those who are wondering, we do end up finding what happens at the Flowering Arboretum, but not in this game. We actually find it in the Notes to book. Don't worry, all of this information is going to be in my upcoming, updated BTS storyline summary. Hoseok's character
Almeno la storia di Robby non sia così, che finisca così in tragedia.
Hoseok's dream was to become a famous dancer, so it would help find his mother one day. At first, that was his reason for getting into dance, but he grew to really love dancing, because to him, dance was his cure. The game then goes over how his narcolepsy started. It was caused by his mother abandoning him when he was a child. She told him to close his eyes and count to 10. She also left him a chocolate bar. When he finished counting, she was gone. Now, whenever he counts or sees a mother with a child, it causes him to think of his past and collapse. Seokjin realized that Hoseok's memory of losing his mother was related to his narcolepsy. Then on May 10, year 22, Hoseok gets a call from the children's home in regards to Kim Jung-hee, the staff who was like a mother to him. She had colon cancer, and because it was in its late stage, surgery had a low chance of success. So that was the reason why Hoseok had collapsed on the bridge, because to him, it was as if he was going to lose another mother. After collapsing on May 10, Hoseok would then be admitted to the surgical ward and placed in the same hospital room as Jimin. He would then follow a woman down the stairs from the 5th floor because he mistook her as his mother. Seokjin tried to see if Namjoon would be the person who could save Hoseok from falling down the stairs, but failed. In the next timeline, he came up with the idea of Jimin and Hoseok saving each other. Now we begin with Taehyung's character storyline. At this point, he was able to save Namjoon, he had Jungkook and Yoongi save each other, Jimin saved Hosuk and then borrowed everyone's help to save Jimin from the hospital. Taehyung's character and his older sister, Kim Yoon-hye, are constantly abused by their alcoholic father. On May 20, year 22, Taehyung would come home to his father abusing his sister. This caused him to take a broken alcohol bottle and stab his father. Seokjin tried to approach the problem from different angles, but continued to fail. He even had Namjoon get involved, but it didn't change things. On May 17, year
Beh, gli altri si
22,
sono salvati
Seokjin
tutti,
decided
ha
to go
cambiato la
on site
situazione.
for practice.
Ha cambiato la situazione e finalmente Jungkook, Jimmy, Obi, Yoongi e Namjoon hanno cambiato il loro corso della storia e quindi si sono salvati. Ora tocca a Vi.
Practical training at the construction site Taehyung's father worked at. This construction site is under Seokjin's father. Taehyung's father, Kim Sung-hoon, was then told by the foreman to use a ladder instead of taking safety precautions and using a scaffold. Taehyung's father ended up falling and hurting his back. The foreman shifted the responsibility to Kim Sung-hoon and tried to brush off the accident by giving him some money. On May 8th,
Questo capita anche nella realtà, ragazzi, purtroppo quando c'è il potere di mezzo è difficile.
Year 22, Seokjin stopped by the convenience store where Taehyung worked. Taehyung ended up having to leave to go home and bring in the soup that was delivered. He asked Seokjin to watch over the store while he was gone. When he got home, he tried to wake up his father so he could eat the hangover soup, but the father ended up getting upset and shoving him away, which created a cut in the back of his neck. While Seokjin was waiting at the convenience store, in Taehyung's backpack, he found a crumpled picture of Taehyung as a baby being held by his father. He realized that Taehyung still cared for his father, even after all the things he had done.
Non dico che merita di morire il padre in questa fanfiction, ma che sia magari rinchiuso in prigione no in prigione, essere aiutato a livello psicologico, perché dopo il trauma, penso che della caduta, lui sia diventato così rancoroso.
Seokjin also found a post-it stuck on the counter from Hosuk telling Taehyung to eat the burgers he made. This showed Seokjin that Hosuk was still taking good care of Taehyung. When Taehyung got off work, he got a call from his sister saying that their father was in the hospital due to an injury he got at work. The hospital wanted them to pay for the bill.
Ah, quindi aspetta, no, allora no, erano stronzo anche prima dell'incidente.
So they called the father's workplace thinking they'd cover for it since he was injured at work, but the foreman lied to them, saying their father was drunk at work and didn't follow safety protocols, so the bill wouldn't be covered. Seokjin ended up stepping in, saying he saw everything that happened and that the father wasn't drunk. The foreman still didn't agree to pay, so Seokjin paid for the bill, but unlike Namjoon's situation where he lied and tried to hide it, he told Taehyung he'd pay for it. May 20, year
Mi si stava iniziando a sentire meglio adesso. Vero, ero entrata in una tristezza assoluta, ma adesso mi sento un po'
Asking him
meglio.
to invite Yoongi. Then Yoongi calls Jungkook before Jungkook decides to jump off the construction building. And that saves Jungkook. May 2, year 22.
So, Jungkook ha salvato Jim e Suga. Suga allo stesso tempo quando l'ha chiamato che Jungkook si stava per buttare in acqua, ha fatto sì che Jungkook non si buttasse più. E adesso vediamo Hoseok e
Just as he
Jimin.
was about to fall down the stairs, Jimin grabbed his arm and caught him. This saved Hoseok.
Ok,
He then realized
Jimmy ha salvato Obi.
that Jimin was also held back by something in their past, which is what they have in common. He then told Jimin they both should get out of the hospital. Hoseok was released from the hospital on May 12, year 22, then came back with the other boys to get Jimin out on May 15. Hoseok gave Jimin a t-shirt and pulled him out of bed. Seokjin and Namjoon greeted them in the elevator, then went into the lobby and saw Yoongi, Jungkook, and Taehyung waiting. A nurse then enters the lobby. They tried to make up an excuse saying it was Jimin's birthday, but took off running before she figured things out. They finally escaped the hospital. May 20, year 22. Seokjin still needs to figure out how to save Taehyung and stop him from stabbing his father. Since Seokjin knew he couldn't be the one to save him, he had Hoseok walk Taehyung home from the police station. Seokjin waited at a hill in a park that had a clear view of Taehyung's unit and the hallway. As soon as Hoseok dropped him off, Seokjin called him through the phone and asked Hoseok if he could invite Taehyung to join them on a trip to the beach. Hoseok then went to Taehyung's unit, and just when Taehyung was about to stab his father, Hoseok hugged him from behind and stopped him. May 22, year 22. They all finally made it out to the beach. It's been years since they were all gathered. The sun was setting slowly, and Taehyung then felt a strange feeling. He has seen this all before. He remembered himself on the platform by the ocean, but looked up to see Seokjin on there instead. A few days ago, he actually asked Seokjin about the dreams he's been having. Basically, the dreams he's been having were actually dreams of past timelines. Seokjin lied and said he didn't know anything, but his actions suggested he knew everything that had happened in Taehyung's dreams. Night falls and they headed back to the place they were staying at. It was cool to find out that this place was actually seen in the Run music video, but yes, just to note that. They had dinner, talked, and danced. Seokjin then decided to confess. Taehyung thought he was going to confess about the incidents that Taehyung had seen in his dreams, but instead, Seokjin brought up high school. And I believe this just made Taehyung mad because he knew Seokjin was trying to hide something else and not this whole high school incident. So he thought Seokjin was a coward. He then said, "Are you talking about when you spied for the principal in high school? Or were you going to mention how, because of that, Yoongi got expelled?" Seokjin apologized, but he knew that's not what Taehyung wanted to hear. He knew Taehyung wanted to hear about this whole incident with the dreams. But Seokjin can't reveal the truth about the tragedies. His repeated attempts, his countless tries to save his friends, he repeated so many moments of sufferings for them. And Seokjin wondered, "Why are you doing this to me?" Taehyung then shouts out, "What's so great about being together? Who are we to one another? We're all alone at
Questo è tutto.
the end." This made Seokjin really, really mad. I mean, I would be too if, Taehyung said that to me, but this ended up with him punching Taehyung and them getting into a fight. The hopes he had for all of them to be happy and for them to face coming days together all felt like it was for nothing. He thought he left his repeating misfortunes behind him, but now see them again, taunting him from just ahead. And that's where the game ends. But don't worry, we did get more pieces of the story in the Notes 1 and 2 book. Like I said, I'll be creating an updated storyline summary including all of this information. But that is all for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to click that like button and also join the Flare Squad by subscribing, you guys. Thanks for watching.
E questa è la stessa cosa che dico io. Se il video vi è piaciuto, mettete un mi piace, iscrivetevi al mio canale e seguitemi in questa grande avventura che sono i BTS. Tornando al video, ragazzi, sapevo, ho guardato il gioco, non l'ho fatto tutto, e è pazzesco, è pazzesco, è veramente tragico ed è incredibile come hanno creato questa storia così complessa e come fanfiction. Bello, triste, tragico, bello, ma bello. Spero che questo video vi sia piaciuto, ci vediamo al prossimo episodio.